Good morning. As promised now, I'm delighted to say joining me on the line is the winner of The Apprentice 2011. It's Mr. Tom Pellereau. Thank you very much for joining me, Tom.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me on. Good morning, everybody.
It's great to have you here. So we're just going to kick off. Before we talk about your huge success last year, I'm just very interested to know, as a young boy, you're always very creative, it's been said. Did you always think that inventing would be something that would turn out to be less of a hobby and more of a career?
I suppose I always hoped so. I always sort of had this dream that one day I'd be able to walk into a shop and pick something off the shelf that I'd maybe invented or been involved in designing. So I always had that dream, certainly.
That's brilliant. So now, moving on to obviously last year, it was a huge year for you. What was it that made you join or apply for The Apprentice?
It was a combination of a number of things, but mainly it was actually a kind of serendipitous moment that I heard on the radio. It was a sort of a Friday night. I had a very bad week, and I was actually really starting to question whether or not I could continue to make it as an inventor. And I'd actually decided that weekend I should sort of start being a bit more serious about it and apply for what my granddad would describe as a proper job. And so I was supposed to be applying for a kind of proper job, and I heard this on the radio, and I was like, nah, let's apply for this instead, kind of thing. Let's have one more go. And my goodness, I'm so glad I did.
So, having applied, what was the selection process like? Because I think we underestimate just how much of an achievement it is just to get to the final 12. But what was it like, the selection process?
It was incredible. I'm not unfortunately allowed to say much about it, but it was certainly a lot of different stages, and a huge number of people applied. I believe it was sort of over 20,000 people.
Yeah.
And then that's a sort of online application, and then there's a load of sort of different rounds, which happen where you have to talk about different things, and I think you sort of end with something that's a little bit similar to a task, all under camera. So it was a real experience, and also quite an emotional one, in the fact that to get through to kind of like the final stage, I was told, we'll contact you by Friday, so and so date, and I was like, okay. And then sort of Friday came along, and Friday afternoon sort of came along, and it was about sort of 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, I was actually starting to get quite upset. I was like, I thought I'd done quite well in that. Obviously, not enough. Right, okay, back to the drawing board. Got to start applying for those proper jobs again. And then I had a panic that they were saying, you will hear by Friday. And I was like, well, maybe by Friday meant I would have heard yesterday.
Yeah.
I was like, it's definitely over, blah, blah, blah. And then at 5:05, I got a phone call from the producer saying, we'd like to, congratulations, we'd like to invite you back.
Wow.
And just the roller coaster of emotions in that one afternoon was huge.
It must have been an amazing feeling. So talking about now, when you're in the Apprentice, it did take you a few weeks to win your first task. Was there ever a moment where you thought maybe he's going to send me home? Was that ever a gut instinct that you thought you were going to go?
Definitely. I thought every week that it was quite possible. And during the entire task, you're always sort of desperately trying to do something to prove that you do deserve to stay on to the next week, and also to help your team win the task. But it was the beauty task for me, which I think was third or fourth, was absolutely horrific. Because I thought I was going to be in a lot of trouble, and it was such a difficult task.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some famous things, that we remember you by. For example, I was watching last night the emergency biscuit. That's something that hasn't gone away anytime soon. So you were one of the only person last year to hear the famous words. When Lord Sugar said to you, Tom, you're hired, what was going through your head? How did you feel when he said that?
It was huge emotion, relief, and kind of excitement about what this meant. Because for me, that was just the start. As it were. I now have this amazing opportunity to create a company, to build upon some of my ideas, and hopefully bring more ideas out in the future. And you're kind of like, wow, now, but then you start feeling, well, this is the start. Now's where the real hard work begins, as it were. So it was sort of that excitement and sort of, look at this opportunity we have.
Yeah, and now since your huge success last year, what would you say has changed for Inventor Tom? What's been the real difference that you've noticed?
It's an interesting question. I now work from an office that Lord Sugar also works from the same office.
Wow.
Which is pretty strange. He wanders around and yells at me occasionally, but also is absolutely fantastic. Like, I went onto the process, with my hand fully out, saying, I think I can come up with products, but I really don't know and understand the business side of it.
Because you pitched your idea as a chair for I'm sitting on a chair just now actually, but obviously it was for office workers, for comfortability really. But since that, what you originally invented before the show, that sort of turned into your main business, the style file. Is that correct? You've got.
Well, I kind of pitched a business around sort of my ideas.
Yeah.
And one of them was this chair, which I'm very passionate about, and I believe has an opportunity later down the line.
Yeah.
But I also sort of pitched the fact that I have these other ideas relating to this product that I've been involved with before. And when we sort of sat down after the after all sort of PR sort of rolled by, as it were, it was a case of, actually, you've got these great products here. You've got some more great ideas around this sort of niche area. Let's focus on that first and use that to create a bed to then develop more complicated things, because actually developing a chair is a very big project. It will take a lot longer. And the beauty accessories are just really simple, nice, good-looking, easy-to-use products, which have really gone to people's hearts. And I've had so many fantastic tweets from people who have very kindly purchased them from Sainsbury's and Boots, etc.
Yeah.
And are really enjoying them. So that's huge for me.
That's brilliant. And now, just finally, looking to the future, obviously you're working in partnership with Lord Sugar, something that I'm sure many people will only ever dream of. But looking to the future, what's next for Inventor Tom and your companies?
Well, it's very exciting times actually, because I spent the last few weeks pitching some new ideas, and we're hoping to have something excitingly new on the shelves by Christmas. So we've got something that's sort of exclusive for you there. We've hopefully got something coming for Christmas, and a new product in the new year. So it's
sounds very exciting.
Brilliant.
Yeah. That's brilliant. And Tom Pellereau, thank you very much for joining me this morning. We greatly appreciate it, and best of luck, to your company. And indeed, just thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely day, everybody.
Thank you very much.